Does free will exist? Cool. So I suppose before we start with free will, we have to start with like non-duality. So who is it that's experiencing this? Who experiences this? So most people believe in an objective reality, that there is a singular entity that is experiencing objects that are out there in the world, and that they're moving through space and time, and they have come from the past and are arriving in the future, and that they are a list of things. They are a good person, they are their name, they are their age, they are the country they come from, their marital status, a father, a son, a wife, a daughter, non-binary, believe in the radical left or the radical right, or they hate politics. They have all these lists of things that they believe that they are, and they believe that that person is experiencing the subjective reality. And that to them is normal, and that is the way the world is. Non-duality questions that. And to me, it's the only freedom. Like, we can free our personalities to extent, like we can change it and we can evolve it. But in the end, the personality is a little bit fixed to an extent. You can lighten it, but it is a bit fixed. So it's not through the personality you find freedom. The place that you find that freedom is recognizing that the person that you believe is experiencing this reality is actually another experience in this reality. It's not actually the experiencer. If you're used to this subject, you're like, yeah. But if you're new to that and you really listen, if you really listen to that, that's really cool. That's mind-blowing. That is mind-blowing. That there is something that is experiencing this that isn't personal and isn't something that you can define, grab, hold, or be. So your personality structure, your person, your wants, your desires, your needs, your thoughts, your beliefs, all of that isn't the experiencer, it is an experience. Most people feel that that narrator in the head is who they are, and it feels like that narrator is moving personal awareness and making choices. But actually, that person that's an appearance is an afterthought thought. So scientists believe that that voice comes in 6 seconds after a choice has been made. So a choice has been made, and then that narrator makes up a story about you choosing it. And to me, what I feel that narrator is for is to help the body-mind organism explore potential choices and possibilities. But it's not actually that one that's narrating that story that's making the choice. That one that's narrating the choice is putting it into the conceptualization of you. So then you'd say, okay, so it's the body, like the unconscious body, that's making the choice. Yeah, in one way you could say that, like the body is making a choice, but then who is orchestrating the body? So the body is seemingly making the choice, but who is putting that impulse into the body? So you could say it's like lots of mechanisms happening in the body, but all those mechanisms, if you keep tracing it back, what is it that's actually moving that? Scientists also think that they've discovered, from what I remember, and I misquote science so much, and I do apologize for that, is that when they get to the bottom of the smallest particle, they don't find anything inside of it. So there's nothing inside of it. So if that's true, like, so if you say, okay, so it's the body that is making apparent choices, but then what is the body? And you keep breaking it down to smaller and smaller elements, and you get to the smallest element that humanity has discovered, and you open it up and there's nothing inside of it. And nothing doesn't mean like a black hole. That's still something. Nothing is not a thing. So you could also say it's a mystery. It is the X factor. Some people could say God, but then what is God? But all of this is really funky and beautiful and wonderful. Most probably sounds like a dogma that I'm preaching, because lots of people speak about non-duality, and I spoken about the same thing, just in different ways over the last like 10 years over the internet and in person with people. But it's actually not, because non-duality isn't actually a thought. It's just that I'm communicating to you in a thought. It's actually an experience. Who is it that is experiencing, or what is it that's experiencing prior to you? Because when you were 3 or 2 or 1, there was experiencing happening, but you didn't know you were a banker, you didn't know you were good or bad, you didn't know that you should or shouldn't do something, you didn't know you were choosing or not choosing, you didn't know that you shouldn't steal cookies. Or maybe you did, but like there wasn't somebody really there in early childhood, yet there was these interactions happening, and there was experiencing happening. And then your character developed over time, and as it developed, there was always something experiencing that character that wasn't changing. And so this is, I suppose, when you begin to get into that part of this subject, then you begin to ask, what is free will? And who has free will? So first of all, who are you? Who is the one that you believe chooses? Who chooses? So right now, answer that. Like, even if you've been doing this for years, this subject, who is it that you think is choosing to raise your hand now? And just answer it out loud. Like, for example, I believe it's me who's just been to the toilet, who loves peanut butter, who just saw 2 people walking past. But notice that's a narrative that you're telling yourself. Those are thoughts that you're telling yourself. But in the moment, who is raising this hand? So there might be something in you that's like, me, 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 me. I am raising the hand. Who is raising the hand? And so who is this me that's insistent that it's raising the hand? And what about driving the car or riding the bicycle? Or watching TV? Or making love? Or eating? Who is it that's doing that? And then your mind will say, oh, it's the body on automatic. But in this moment, who is doing that? Who is? What is? Like me, like the speaking is just appearing. And I can't find a place. It's appearing. And I can give lots of intellectual answers that I've learned, But in the very moment of it, it's appearing. And it seems like I choose to speak, like I, Lisa, am sitting here choosing to speak. But in the moment, it's not like that. There's not a Lisa that's appearing to choose to speak. There is simply speaking happening, and it doesn't belong to anybody. The somebody comes in our interpretation, but it's not actually the experience. It's not the experience. Das ist genug. Das ist genug. Oh no, sorry, that's the wrong word. That is enough, I was saying. Das ist super cool. Super cool. Deutschless. No. How do you say English and German together? I forgot. Like English, Deutschlish, Deutschless, lish, Deutschless. I don't know how you say it, I forgot. Yeah. So this speaking is happening. When it's really examined, it will see that everything is simply happening, and it's not something that's orchestrating all of this. There is a narration that's telling you you choose, and that's the story that we tell. We even tell it of our dogs. So Khaleesi, I say, if I gave her a chicken and a carrot, she will pick the chicken, I can guarantee that. I would say she chose the chicken, but she can't choose the chicken because she doesn't have complex thinking, so it's just an appearance of choice. And she picks exactly what she's meant to pick because the chicken smells good to her. That's how she's wired. She does eat carrots sometimes, but she would always pick chicken over a carrot. So it's another element that we have in us, is that if you're so free to have free will, and if there is somebody there that has free will, how can it be that you're bound by conditions? How can that be free will if you're bound by conditions of being human? You can only pick within the spectrum of the human. So you're not going to like start barking like a dog, although some of us might. Ruff, 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 ruff. But you're not going to suddenly start like swinging around the trees like a monkey. I'm going to choose to swing around the trees because you're most probably not strong enough. Maybe there is some exceptions out there. Or fly in the sky like a bird. You don't have that choice or that possibility. You can't start flapping your arms and off you go. You can only choose a limited amount of things which suit the human. Like a human is unlikely to eat feces, unlike a dung beetle. To a dung beetle, it's like, to a fly, it's like, oh yeah, baby, give me more, give me more. But to a human, it's unlikely, unless we're like starving, that we're going to eat feces. And you think that's your choice, but that's not actually your choice. That's just because you're set up like that. If you were set up in a different way, and humans had evolved to eat feces, you would eat feces, and it's not your choice. So you've got two arguments here. You've got the argument of that we're biological animals that evolved, and then you've got the argument that there is nobody. And in this moment, there is nobody that is choosing. But there is the appearance of choice, and the appearance of choice is part of our evolution. So, by having complex choices, like, say, me picking a banana over a Snickers bar, like by comprehending what the Snickers bar does to my body and what the banana does, I can make a superior choice that's best for me. but it's not actually me choosing. It's like putting information into the machine, just like Siri appears like she's choosing when she picks websites for me. And the more information I give her, the more accurate she can be. But it's just cross-referencing of information, and not I forgot that word. Making it smaller to make a choice. Cross-referencing everything to make a more precise choice. So free will is an illusion, you could say. But if you believed free will was an illusion, then you'd be in another illusion. I know that sounds so weird. But to believe that free will is an illusion is an illusion. But free will is an illusion. Because as soon as you start believing something, you take on something that isn't really you and isn't true. Like in the end, life is mystery. And our concepts are like pointing to things, trying to help us communicate, but they're not actually truths. But if you believe that you have free will, that's not true. But if you believe you don't have free will, that's also not true. Suck on that. Or take that. Take that. Na, na. I can't remember one of their songs. Mm. Mm. But at the same time, like, you don't really need to worry about it too much, the idea of free will or not free will. What I really liked about Ramesh and Roger's teaching is it questioned effects of free will. I really like that. I found it really helpful. Again, the way that I am, it's like if you believe in that, it becomes another restriction. So if you believe in, like, so Roger and Ramesh, they would teach something along the lines of when you believe in doership, so when there is somebody that believes in doership, what happens is you then have blame, guilt, shame, pride, and expectation. And I think this is true, but they become like everything. They become like ghosts. So there's still going to be blame. Like, so if somebody came in here and like smashed up my apartment, there would still be, that is your fault, and there would still be hurt feelings here that they did that. You know, maybe they did it because they wanted to get back at me or something, or they were angry with me. They would be upset about that, and there would be like some form of blame, but not proper blame as in like really disliking or really believing that. The same if I like borrowed somebody's car and smashed it up, I would feel guilt, which is appropriate, but it wouldn't be like really deep suffering guilt. It would just be like, oh, I'm so sorry, and just feeling like compassion for them that I did that, and that they now have to go through the hassle of getting a new car. And so maybe some people phrase what I'm saying in different words. They'd say, okay, is the end of blame, guilt, pride, shame, expectation, and what she's expressing is compassion, or what she's expressing is anger, whatever you want to say. But I like taking responsibilities on the human level for things. So like, I would prefer to say, I feel guilty that I crashed your car or whatever, or I feel guilt about that, rather than calling it something else. Because I also think it's important on the human level to be as human as possible. All these contradictions. But anyway, that's beside the point. So what's great about Roger's and Ramesh's teaching is that it really makes you question these dynamics. Because in the end, they are illusory. There is nobody to blame. There is nobody that feels guilt. Like, who is it? And so Roger and Ramesh would say that that is what happiness is the diminishing of those dynamics. And I do believe they diminish with the character, with the lack of attachment to the character, and with this realization, because there is nobody that's guilty. You know, if someone comes in and smashes up my house, yeah, they could be upset with them and anger towards them, and like, you know, like, why did you do this, and feeling hurt that they did this. But there's not actually somebody in there that did it. There's not actually somebody to blame. So there's not something that would stick to that. So questioning these dynamics is really important. Like expectation, the expectation that I'm going to be happy in the future if I get $1 million, or if I get the Nobel Peace Prize, or if I get enlightened. Like, that's not true, because what you have right now is this moment. This expectation about the future is all illusory in your mind, like me, and living in time. And we're saying, but it's like this really strong attached, to me, I would say it's like this attachment to them. I just really try to not make waking up sound special. So not saying it's the absence of this or absence of that, because to me, I would see that as expectation. And also, no, you don't need to keep telling people what you are or what you're not, or how you're different from them. I maybe did that more in the beginning. And that's, you know, something I try not to do as well. So you've got blame, you've got guilt, but the same, like inside, like there is nobody to feel guilty. So yeah, if you smash someone's car up, you feel compassion and sad, but ultimately it's not your fault. You couldn't have done anything differently. So this dialogue, this going over, isn't true. This is false. This is a lie that you're telling yourself. And then it gets stuck in suffering and attachment, and the belief that if you didn't do that, then you would be free. And then the shame, like I am shameful because of behaviors I've done or actions I've done. Like I am shamed for people to see me in a certain way. And again, this is about you that believes that it's separate from life and can behave in a certain way, and that there's others there, and that there is a default in you, that there's something not good enough in you, and that's not true. And pride, and also the idea that you did something, that you are supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, that you are amazing and better than everyone else. You also really can't take much pride for stuff. Like, yeah, there could be moments of pride. You clean the house and then you're like, yeah! Or you win the board game and you're like, yeah, but it's not yours to really cheer. It's just the happening. You just enjoy it in the moment, but then there is nobody there to hold on to that. It is God's will that that happened. The house was cleaned because of God, not because of you. Who is this you? Who? Who is this you that's doing all these things? Who? Who is that I? There is a character, yes. So Lisa went to the shops today. Lisa likes Khaleesi, or loves Khaleesi. So that's a character, but that isn't you. That is an appearance happening, like the sunshine, like the room, like the computer, like my voice. Nice. Okay. Let's take some questions after that enthusiastic introduction.